In this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to do this beautiful star stitch, and if this is your first time visiting my channel then please remember to subscribe to it now so that you keep up to date with all of my weekly tutorials. But as I say, this tutorial is going to be for this beautiful star stitch. So for the purpose of the tutorial I'm just using some Rico Design Essentials Cotton DK. And I'm just going to use a 4mm hook, but as always this stitch can be worked with any yarn and any size hook. So to start with, you obviously need your slip knot, and if you're not sure how to do that then just nip and check out my Absolute Beginner series. To start the pattern itself you want to chain an odd number, so as wide as you want your project to be as long as it's an odd number. So just yarn over and pull through. And just complete your foundation chain. So I've just completed my foundation chain, and so now we're going to work back, and all you want to remember really is that before you pull through all of your loops you want to make sure that you have 6. That's all you need to remember basically. So that will make obviously more sense in just a second, but this loop here is already going to count as a loop on our hook, so we're going to count that as 1. And then we're going to skip this very first chain just here. So you're going to skip that one and we're going to go into the second chain just here. So you've got 1 loop on your hook now. You're going to insert your hook into that second chain, yarn over and pull up. That's 2. Into the next one. That's 3. Into the next one. That's 4. Into the next one, 5, and into the next one, 6. So I've now got 6 loops on my hook, and you want to yarn over and very slowly you're going to pull through all of those loops. So yarn over and pull through all 6 loops. You then want to chain 1. And that is creating the eye of the star. If you can see, you've got a little hole that goes all the way through. So that first one was nice and easy. It does change up now. You don't just carry on working along your chains. You actually work down the side of this star stitch first. So again, you've got 1 loop on your hook already. So the first place you're going to go is directly into the eye that you have just created for your star. So straight into that centre space. You're going to yarn over and pull up. That's 2. You are then going to go through the last stitch that you just did on your star. You're going to insert your hook into that stitch. You only need to go through 1 loop of it. Yarn over and pull up, that's 3. And then you will go into the chain on the foundation chain that you worked into last time as well. So this foundation chain that we've already worked into once, you're going to go into that one again, and that will be 4. And then you'll go back onto your foundation chain, go into the next one along, and that's 5, and finally 6. So again, you've got 6 loops on your hook, and you're going to yarn over and pull through all 6 loops. Again, you're going to chain 1 to create the eye of the star. And again, now you're going to do exactly the same as what you did just a moment ago. So you've already got 1 loop on your hook. So you're going to go into the centre of that eye, yarn over and pull up, that's 2, and then through that last stitch, so through the front of that last stitch, oops, yarn over and pull up, that's your 3rd, and then your 4th is always on the foundation chain but the one that you worked into previously. So that last one that you worked into, that's 4, and then you start along your foundation chain again. 5 and 6, and again yarn over, pull through all of those loops and chain 1. So I'll show you that one more time and then I will leave you to complete the rest of this row. So you've got 1 on your hook, you're going to go into the centre, yarn over and pull up, that's 2. You're going to go through that final stitch of the previous star, so through that very end stitch, that's 3, into the previous chain on the foundation row that you've already worked into, it's 4, and then 5 and 6 are back on the foundation chain that you haven't worked. Once you've got your 6 loops, yarn over, pull through all of those loops and chain 1, and you're going to continue doing that all the way along, and I will meet you just as you get towards the end of your foundation chain, but pause or rewind now if you need to. So I've just completed my final star and I've done my chain 1, and I have got 1 chain left over, and into that final chain you're going to do a half treble crochet. So you want to yarn over, insert into that final chain, yarn over and pull up. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, and then you will yarn over and pull through all of those loops. So this is obviously my little sample piece, and this is how my star stitch is looking so far. You then want to chain 2 and turn. So on this row now we're going to be working into the centre of the stars, so you can see that you should have a reasonably obvious circular shape in the centre of each of your stars from the previous row, and they are what we are going to be working into, and we are going to be doing 2 half treble crochets into the centre of each of those stitches. So our very first one is just here, so you can see I've got where all my stitches have been going into that stitch just there. So you want to yarn over and then insert into the centre of that stitch, yarn over and pull up. Again, you've got your 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, and once more yarn over and insert back into that same stitch, yarn over and pull up, yarn over, pull through all 3, and then you will move on to the next one, which is just here. So make sure you do this carefully and you don't miss any, because you can see they are quite bunched up, so you just need to pull them apart a little so that you can easily access and easily see those circular spaces where we will be going into. So you're going to move straight across to the next one and do 2 half trebles into that eye, and again into the next. So like I say, take your time with this bit and make sure you don't miss any stitches. But you're just going to do 2 half trebles into each eye all the way along, and I will meet you towards the other end in just a second. I do apologise if you can hear that little squeak. I think it's because I've polished my table, which is also why the wood might look a little bit darker today. And I think some of the polish maybe has gotten onto the yarn, and so it's making it squeak as it comes into contact with my hook. So I'm obviously getting back towards the other side now. I've just got this one final star to work into. Make sure you don't miss this final one here. So I'm going to do my 2 half trebles into that centre. So to finish off this round now, we want to do 2 half trebles into the final stitch. So it's after the centre eye, and if I just turn this slightly, you can see that there is a stitch here at the very end that we can work into. So you want to make sure you get the 2 loops at the end of that stitch that you can see. So yarn over and insert. Again, I am making sure that I get the 2 loops of that stitch just to make it that bit more secure. And I'm going to do 2 half trebles into that same space. So that now is how I am looking after my first 2 rows. So I'm going to call these next 2 rows the pattern repeat now. So once you have watched the next 2 rows, that is what you will need to repeat over and over again until your project gets to whatever length you want it to be. So we're going to chain 3 this time. So obviously in the last row we only chained 2, but when we're doing our stars, we want to start with the chain 3. And we're going to turn again. And so this is different now because we are actually going to be working into the chain 3 that we've just done. So if you might need to turn it very slightly so that you can obviously see the stitches. But obviously again now we want to have 6 loops on the hook. So we've got 1, and then we're going to go into the second chain of the chain 3 that we did. So into that second chain, and again you only need to get 1 loop of the stitch. Yarn over and pull up, that's 2, and then into the bottom of that chain, yarn over and pull up, and then we're going to go straight ahead and work into the top of the normal stitches. So we've done into the chains, and then the very first one is this very first stitch just here. So that very first one, 4, 5 and 6, and then yarn over, pull through all of those stitches and chain 1. And so obviously that first one is the only one that's different than it was at the beginning, so the rest of them now are exactly the same as before. So you've got 1 loop on your hook now. You're going to go into the centre and draw up for number 2, the end stitch, number 3, and then the stitch that you worked a moment ago, you'll go into that one for number 4, and then new stitches for 5 and 6. And again, yarn over and pull through them all and chain 1. So I'll do that one more time. You've got 1 on your hook, the second is done through the centre, number 3 is through the previous last stitch, it's number 3, number 4 is the stitch that you worked previously, and then 5 and 6 are worked in new stitches along the row. Yarn over and pull through all and chain 1. So you're going to do that star stitch again all the way along, and I will meet you as you get to the other end in a second. Okay, so to finish off this row, you can see you've got 1 stitch left there. That's quite obvious for you to work into, and you want to do 1 half treble into that stitch, making sure again that you catch the V. So that is how you should be looking at this point. And now again we're going to do our half treble row. So you want to chain 2. So this is row 2 of the repeat. And then just as before, you're going to do 2 half treble crochets into the centre of each of the stars. So yarn over, insert into that first one and do your 2 half trebles. And then again into the next one along, you're going to do your 2 half trebles. And you're going to do that all the way along until you get to the other side, which is where I will meet you in just a moment. So again, when you get to the other end, make sure you don't miss that final centre to be worked into. Make sure you do that one. And then you will do 2 half trebles into the end stitch. But if you wanted to change colours, you would do that at the end of row 2, because that is the final. If I turn it over to the right side, you can see that that is the completing row for the star. So you wouldn't want to change colour at the end of a row 1, because obviously you would end up with, well, you could do obviously, but you would end up then with stars that were half one colour and half another. But if you wanted to have rows of individually coloured stars, then you would change colours at the end of this row that we would be doing now. So at the end of one of the half treble rows. And if you wanted to do that, you would do it on your second half treble. So obviously in this last stitch now, oops, we want to do 2 half trebles. So I'll do the first one and the second. However, when you get to this point on your second half treble, when you've got your 3 loops, this is the point that you would change colour. So you would grab your new colour and pull it through those final 3 loops and then tie together. Now, if you're not exactly sure what I mean by that, then I will link my colour change description in the description box below, my tutorial, and you'll be able to see how to change colours for when you're doing half trebles. But obviously I'm just going to carry on in the same colour. So that is the end of the 1 and 2 row pattern repeat. So again, now you'll be onto a star row, so you would chain 3 and turn, and now you would work a star row again, making sure that you've got your 6 loops. So if you wanted to, you can rewind now back to where we did our very first part of the pattern repeat, and you can watch as many times as you need to. But that is it for the Star Stitch tutorial itself. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. It's a really beautiful stitch and it looks great in any yarn, to be honest, but I do love the look that you get with cotton yarn, because the definition, as you can see, is really beautiful. And this yarn especially is great because it has a nice sheen to it as well, so it just suits the Star Stitch perfectly. But I will link all of my Instagram and things in the description box so that you can go and check that out if you want to. But make sure you join me again next week for another new tutorial. Bye for now.